Hey folks, it's Price is Wrong here from Battle Vortex, and this is the BV Roundtable. This show is basically about having members of the community come on the show and having your say. Basically, we're just trying to give a voice to the community as much as possible and discuss whatever the current events are surrounding Battle Pirates. So I guess tonight we'll probably be mainly talking about the Thursday night show. So hopefully everybody has watched it already. I know we had a lot of discussion on Thursday. We had DoomRooster and GD Raikan, so it was GD Raikan's first appearance on Battle Pirates, and DoomRooster, it was actually his second week in a row, believe it or not. And so that's awesome. Hopefully we can keep that trend going. Would like to have him on every week. But we did talk about Armadas quite a bit. Armadas are now, I guess, a part of the game. I'm curious if everybody on here or anybody on here has managed to get some experience going with the Armadas, and just tell me what you think. Should I go down the line, or do you guys just, anybody want to just jump in?
I'll jump in right away.
Go for it.
I think the Armadas are great. This is a great addition, I think, Kick-Eye put in for us. I think they're very reasonable. You get 29,000 in uranium each one. If you're rolling a cutter, I mean, you're rolling almost 60,000 each one. So I think, again, I think this is a step forward. I love it. So keep them up, keep them coming weekly, man. It'd be great.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing them every time with the dredges. Obviously, there's a little buggy right now. Actually, the last one that I hit actually got 0 uranium for, so I put in a ticket. But there was something they were aware of, and they were just everybody asking people to include a screenshot if you got 0 in with a ticket, and they would take care of it. But so who else on here? Toxic, have you hit any Jack Armadas at all? Or I'm sorry, Zivalroy?
I have indeed. I quite enjoy them. They're done. You can figure out a way to do it with minimal damage. You get a lot of uranium, and they're good fun. And there's no blueprints associated with it or anything like that. So it's just a plain
just uranium
thing. Yeah, and it's good. I reckon it's a step in the right direction.
Now about the blueprint thing. Originally they were going to have we had 6 limited blueprints that had dropped out of the Reaver holdouts that only appeared one time, and they were going to try to attach these 6 limited blueprints in with the Jack Armadas, and they removed them, I guess, due to customer community feedback. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's going in line with what they said. Less content overload.
Well, This isn't new content, though. This is existing content. So now it's basically access to existing content. So
it's only been out once, and only a select few people would have gotten it. So there wouldn't be too many pirates in the seas that have gotten all these blueprints. So I'm cool with what it is. No, nothing with it. Just uranium. Like I said, I reckon it's a step in the right direction.
Now, Dirty Harry, what are your thoughts? Dirty Harry, by the way, you notice he's got an overlay like I do. He's on one of our newest guest arbiters, and so you'll be seeing a lot more of him. White Star down on the end is also you'll be seeing him on a Thursday show here, probably next Thursday as well. But Dirty Harry, go ahead and tell me what you think about the Armadas.
Well, as far as the targets themselves, they're fairly easy to sub out. With the Charon torpedoes. The range on those is sufficient to pick off even the boats with thermals. I believe it was V2Hs or Kodiaks. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, there was a V2 and 2 Kodiaks.
Right. Okay. So that made it much more easy to clean them up with minimal damage. The issue with the blueprints. Do you actually want to start that conversation, or do you want to stick with the target conversation for now?
Well, yeah. I mean, I just figured we'll go ahead and get all of the Armada stuff out of the way in one go round if we can. But yeah, go ahead and feel free to disagree or whatever, or support either one.
Right, and it's not so much disagreeing with what Ziggy had to say, but when you take a look at the reason that they pulled those the 6 limited blueprints out. I actually went out on the forums and took a look at the thread with all the basically complaints about the limited blueprints again. And the fact of the matter is they're in the game. So it's just a matter of getting access to them. No other changes are really necessary. I think that making those widely available will solve the problem, or reduce the concern by the community at large for having limited blueprints. So in other words, when you get to the point where you've got 15 or 20 of each one of them, it's not as big of a deal that they're limited. So I think that they should be added back to the Armadas. I think they should, on a limited drop basis. I think it would also make sense to add them to dredges, add them to the Forsaken mission targets, add them to Drac bases, add them to everything. Get them out there. And that should reduce the concern and upheaval within the community about having limited blueprints. That being said, I definitely think they should not be releasing any additional limited blueprints. So I just want to throw that out there for anybody who might think that I'm advocating for limited blueprints.
How about just add them to cargo? I mean, how awesome would that be if you were hitting a cargo and actually got a whole limited blueprint as opposed to a piece of a regular blueprint?
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea as well. Anything that gets them out there so that they're easily and readily available will eliminate the issue with them being limited.
Awesome. Phantom Menace, you have any experience with the Armadas yet? And do you have an opinion concerning the blueprint, limited blueprint thing?
Yeah, I've not actually did any of the Armadas, but I saw White Star do a couple on your thread, on your stream the other day. But my theory on the limited blueprints is, I think they saw it was too easy, and they would have give out too many of them too easily. That's why they pulled them.
Okay. Damnation, what's going on, buddy? Oh, Damnation's also, I didn't see him on camera here, but he's also, some of you may recognize him. He's also been a guest arbiter on a few shows. And Damnation, you on here, bud?
Yeah, I'm here, man. I was just waiting for you to stop talking.
The Armadas, or do you have have you tried any Armadas yet?
I actually have not gotten a chance to try any Armadas yet. I generally don't, keep a close eye on the spawn thing, and by the time I get on there and start looking, they're generally gone, so I actually haven't had a chance to try them yet. As far as the limited blueprints being in them, I personally think it's a great idea. I mean, pretty much everybody's going to be hitting them anyway, so it's not like you're hitting them specifically just for the limited blueprint. It's an added bonus when you're going to get your uranium and stuff. So I see no reason why they shouldn't be in there.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, the spawn rate on them is kind of low. I mean, usually it's 1, and I don't even think it's at every tower, if I'm not mistaken. But hey, Bite Me Hard. This is just Bite Me on here, isn't it? Have you tried any Armadas at all?
Yeah, I tried a couple of them, and I like the way that they're gonna go and stuff, and I think they're generally pretty good targets. I want to know how the Codys get thermal. That's one of the things. But me myself, I think they're generally good. I think they're going to be generally good for the community. The biggest thing to me is they already included the limited blueprints. They should be included in the game. I mean, why keep that stuff from a few people, One other thing is that getting to try them and stuff, everybody and their mother is fighting for them, so.
Yeah, I haven't had any experience with ninjas or anything like that yet, trying to steal those from me, but I've only hit like 3 so far.
Yeah, I hit a couple, and also the other thing is I was having problems with uranium payout. There was a couple of times that I didn't get any uranium at all for tackling them.
On that note, I wanted to throw in something I actually read in the forums. I believe that there were a few documented cases in there where people had prepped the Armadas for someone else, and when the other person went in to finish it off, they did not get uranium. So I don't know if that's the overall issue with the uranium payout, I don't think it is, but that was a consistent theme that I saw in the forum post.
You know, maybe it has something to do with the multiple hits. You know, maybe if you just are able to one hit them, it's not a problem. But I don't know. We'll let Kixeye sort that out, I think.
Can I say something to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I had someone hit my Armada yesterday by accident because I've lost one fleet, and by the time the second one got there, that person hit it. That person then prepped one for me, and I got my uranium payout from it, and I think that person got the one from mine as well. So it must just be isolated.
Yeah. Hey, Battlestar, have you tried any Armadas?
No, all I was doing most of the week was grinding through the missions. I either have to do the missions or the uranium things, but this week it was just doing the missions.
How do you feel about the limited blueprint thing?
Well, honestly, I don't care either way because it won't do me any good if it takes me forever to build it anyway. They need to fix the build times and the repair times before they even worry about the limited edition stuff.
Yeah, I can't argue too much with that. Let me see. White Star, you're the only one who hadn't gotten to speak yet on this. What do you think of the Armadas and blueprints, limited blueprints?
Yeah, I tried a few Armadas. I thought they were good. I thought they were easy enough. Damn, they were faster moving. For Drac ships, I thought they were Reavers all over again. But yeah, it was good all in all. I found them. I got down to doing them certain ways. Like the last three ships, you got two Mastodons at the side of Highlander. If you went to one side of a Mastodon, that'd only fire you where the other one, because that wasn't in the range, so you could actually cut down your damage. I got my damage down to about 30 minutes for doing one, so that wasn't too bad. Now, the blueprints, I'm a bit disappointed that Kixeye took them out, really. I can't understand why the community was moaning for free blueprints. It's not hard. You could easily do them. All you were getting was a uranium, and your extra bonus was getting a blueprint. So where was the problem?
I think there's actually 6 different limited blueprints, but one thing I will say, I was just noticing in the chat, Michael Klindworth over there was talking about being full. I will say one thing I did notice was, I know Dirty Harry had this happen to him, but when he was, wait, sir, can you mute, please?
What?
Never mind, I got it. Anyway, one thing I did notice from him was he actually, generally they paid out about 28,000 uranium, but if you didn't have enough space, you would only get whatever you had available. So if you were only 15,000 short, if you only had room for 15,000 uranium, that's what your target would pay out. And if you were full, obviously you'd get 0. So, so there's that. But anyway, I guess. But that was a preview. It was a preview. Kixeye did want to make sure that they pointed that out, that it was a preview, and so the next time they come out, we can probably expect them to be a little bit different. Me personally, actually, my last one that I hit only had like 18 minutes worth of repair. That was split up among a few fleets. I used Rhinos mainly to go in to start, and I came in at 6 o'clock, and I was actually able to prep out all of the Greta's nuke cruisers pretty much without taking any hits. You couldn't do that with the other missile hulls, is because they had the same kind of weaponry. They have the blade missiles on them, so you would take a little bit of damage there prepping them out, but they died quickly enough. And there's also a Nighthawk in there, so if you don't have any way of seeing that Nighthawk, you're going to take some hits off of that too. So if you're using a Frosty with your Rhinos, I mean, that's what I did. At one point I was getting shot and I couldn't see the sub, but that's because the Rhino was the closest thing I had to the Nighthawk and not my Frosty. And so once I got that sorted, I was able to get my damage down even more. So like I said, 18 minutes was the last hit. And then I'd go in and I'd clean up with subs, which was a Highlander nuke cruiser and a couple of Mastodons. And, you know, that was it, man. It was easy peasy. But anyway, that was it for me. Now, I guess the other thing that they talked about, they did talk a little bit about the tiger shark that's coming up in the Death from Below event coming up this Thursday. They mentioned specifically that GD Raikan, he actually mentioned that it's not really comparable to the Banshee. I know Dirty Harry tried to compare it to the Banshee at one time during the Thursday show, if I'm not mistaken. But they mentioned that it was more intended to help with future content and also the Armadas. It's mainly a fleet versus fleet hull, where the Banshee was not necessarily a fleet versus fleet hull. I mean, did you have? Does anybody have anything they wanted to say about the Tiger Shark or?
Yeah, how can it be a fleet versus fleet hull, especially when they've also said it's to help against the Armadas. Thermal. Oh, wait on a minute. That's going to kill them and detect them. So unless they're going to give some thermal avoidance to them, then it's not a fleet versus fleet. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, I know you've been really campaigning for that thermal avoidance attribute. I mean, it doesn't exist currently in the game, but I know you've really been pushing for that. But I don't know, with this new torpedo coming out, they had the Styx torpedo was mentioned. They said it's small concussive. Its primary damage type is going to be corrosive. Its range is going to be right around 90, so it's going to be comparable to the Charon as far as range goes. I mean, that's got to help a little bit, but you're right. If there's like a 90 or better thermal on the hulls, you know, you're not really going to be shooting from out of range. So I don't know. I don't know what to say there.
What I'm saying, or what I'm seeing, is rather than providing some way to avoid thermal, what they're going to do is start releasing torpedoes or submerged weapons of one type or another with more range than the typical thermal ranges on the hulls. And then we will start to see hulls with bigger thermal ranges, and then we'll see longer range torpedoes. So I see basically a range war getting ready to start between subs and torpedoes versus surface ships.
Thermal was a great thing. They just use it in the NPC targets way too much.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think the bigger thermal ranges too. I don't know. I know they really screwed up sonar, so the thermal was supposed to be the fix, and now they're kind of overdoing it. I think they're running out of ways to challenge the community. My personal opinion on the thing is, you know, back in the day, as original Battle Pirates was, you know, the NPCs didn't use any tech that wasn't available to the community at some point. You know, but I think I guess they kind of quit doing that after the Dreadnought was released, right? And then it's just like putting thermal on Kodiaks. It's like, you know, I want to put thermal on my Kodiaks. You know, I'm sure my wife, she's still got MCXs. I bet she'd love to be able to put thermal on them. Build times was mentioned also when we were talking about the Tiger Shark. And I know Vlad actually. He was very expressive with his opinion on the build times, and I know at the time, you know, one thing that is coming from the talks that we've had, Battle Vortex has had with the Kickside team, is there is going to be a component rebalancing here in the near future, and I think specifically armor. You know, I was trying to make a point on the show on Thursday that you know, 4 armor pieces can take a whole week just by itself. You know, and I think the component rebalancing, that alone will go a great deal. I think in fixing the ship build times, but I don't know. I'm curious if anybody else on here's got any kind of opinions. You know, on that with the build times.
I think the rebalancing makes sense for a variety of reasons, and I think it's a good approach. That's it.
All right. Anybody else?
With the build time mentioned, I think it was 5 days, 7 hours, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Now, I wonder if that's with or without the officer, and I wonder if the officer is put on, it comes down to under 5 days to come in line with the other subs.
All right. So you just think that it ought to be a little lower.
Yeah.
All right.
When it comes down to it, it's going to be a 2-month build. You're going to have 15 days for the sub, basically, when it comes right down to it. So to have a fleet of these probably is going to be, I would say 2 months. So it's just right about in line with the other subs. I mean, maybe a day or two or what have you, but I'd say I'm gonna look at about 15 days. That's what I'm gonna guess on that sub. So, which is not too bad. I mean, let's face it. I mean, we got builds that are 21, 26. I mean, so if you didn't build a Banshee, I think this might be something that you want to look at. It's so.
We didn't really get any numbers regarding submerge time or anything like that yet, so we really don't know too much about what we got yet, if it's worth building or not. So hopefully they give us something nice.
Price, I thought that the stats that were... Are you talking about the raid sub?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think weren't the stats included with that? I thought you had that on one of your slides.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. There was surface. Well, I know there was submerge time, but the surface time wasn't in there.
Okay.
But there was submerge time in there. You're right, and it was like 60 seconds, so it was on par with a Spectre.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
With the Spectre, isn't it like about 85, 89 with Bat 3?
I think you can get up to 90 with Bat 3.
Yeah. So,
and then if you retrofit it, you can probably do better.
And it's going to have 4 specials, right? So.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good sub. He said it's going to be a little slow and what have you, but you get it up to 25, I think it'd be a good little sub. I'm gonna build it. I'm gonna get it. And I'm gonna build it. I'll tell you that much. So.
Of course.
All right. Death from Below was a big. That was probably most of my notes from the Thursday show was regarding Death from Below. I know they mentioned like the targets have been tweaked. They're supposed to be more susceptible to surface attacks, as I understand. However, missiles are still recommended. Also as emphasized, if missiles are your, what you plan to use, make sure you got retargeting on your hulls. And even though they mentioned like the Rhino, that's what I use is the Rhino. The Rhino by itself does not have retargeting built in. So I would definitely recommend. I'm using the guidance missile system to get retargeting on there. Let me see, what else was mentioned? There's going to be 2 different world map targets. There's going to be the 35s and 55s. And they're going to pay out event points and resources. There's not going to be a sector bar, so no sector points this time around. The Vanguards are going to spawn for everybody at the same time, which will be Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. kickside time. So whatever your relationship is, your time zone compared to kickside is when that'll be for you. They got rid of the sector store. What do you guys think of that? Getting rid of the sector store. Do you think that was a good idea or a bad idea?
I reckon it's a bad idea. I reckon it's a bad idea, and what they should have done, they should have expanded on it and put everything in it, so that you've got a choice of what you can get from that store, because you can't really call it a store if not everything's in it.
Amen.
Yeah, I kind of agree. When they were talking about, I know CM DoomRooster, he was talking about, they're looking for fewer ways to release content, and I don't know that that's really what we were after when we were saying less content. We weren't looking for less ways to get the content. We're just looking for less content, period. I think more ways to make content available is a good thing, and I think it just seems like for some reason I think with the transition between different people in various positions, a lot's getting lost. That's my opinion. But anybody else want to say something about the sector store?
Well, I think with all the content that they're putting out right now, they should lower the repair times even more, because that way you can at least use them. You know what I mean?
I think they're just going to adjust the sector store kind of thing, where it's going to be, because you're going to get your tokens. They're going to be like a little area for tokens or something else. So there might be something, special or what have you. But I think they're going to have, they'll have your main prizes, and then they'll have something special. I'm sure, with the tokens. That would be my guess. So, but I mean, the sector bar gone, yay, that's great. I'm happy about that, and you know, if that has to go too, cool. So, I mean, I think they're going in the right direction with it. I like it so far, and it's co-op. We can help people out too. So I think you know, I like it. So.
I just wanted to say real quick, Cinnabon over there in the chat. I just want to say happy birthday. She's going to leave, so.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Cinnabon.
birthday.
She's turning 25 today, so. Anyway, so sector store, nothing else?
I think it's a pretty much a foregone conclusion that if they get rid of the sector bar, they have to get rid of the sector store. Otherwise, it's just another tier.
What about? Sorry, they're getting rid of sector store. I don't mind that. What about having it in the missions, replacing tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 with like a sector store, so you can pick your prizes that you want to for the lower levels. Any thoughts on that?
I think we've all toyed with the idea of changing the random aspect of winning prizes in the Forsaken mission, but I don't foresee that going away. It would be nice, yes, but I don't think it's going to go away. Sorry, go ahead.
It would be, but what the way I see it is, the sector store is more for the lower levels. Now, most of the higher levels have most of the stuff. It's the lower levels that don't have it. Now, if you take the sector store away, what are they gonna? What's their incentive of participating in that raid? So I reckon all the parts, everything in it, in every raid, and let people have a reward for their grinding or you know, whatever they're doing.
I wouldn't mind an unlimited token store.
Amen to that. No doubt. And boost up instead of having like 1 for 1. Let us at least store like 3 or something. I mean, I think that's one big issue I wanted to say, is we need to be able to store some tokens. I mean, come on, we got to use them like right away, and it's just like, come on, man, we can't store 2 or 3 of them. They should give us a little, you know, leeway on that, I think, man.
Yeah.
I think that they will do that as time goes on. They'll continue to increase that number. But that kind of plays back into build times, which also kind of goes back into the conversation around the game economy, which hopefully we'll hear something back, get some type of a description as to what they mean when they say that. Sorry, not trying to change the topic, but you know, started out with tokens, and you know that leads into build times. But tokens for other things as well. I think it's going to be very much like other things that they introduce into the game. Eventually, the quantity will increase.
Yeah, that would be great. No doubt.
I personally don't get the storing up tokens thing. I use that stuff as soon as I get it. I like eat it like it's candy going out of style. I see no reason to store it up myself.
Same, I just use them, you know. The biggest thing with going away with the sector store, that was kind of a thing with the bar. So if the bar's gone, the store's gone, you know, no big deal. The biggest thing is making some of that older tech available to the masses, because I think like the event before last that was in there was the cryo depth charges and stuff like that, and that's stuff that not a lot of everybody has. They probably do now, but I mean back then, you know.
All right. Well, I guess just moving on for the Death from Below. I know the Vanguards. I mentioned the Vanguards are going to have the Death Scythe in there, 72-hour build tokens. There's a 1-hour ship build token, so it sounds like there's supposed to be some kind of like a consolation prize available. It's because, you know, there has been a lot of complaints about people hitting them and not getting anything for it but damage, right? But there is a new mega hull coming out called the Ghostcrawler. There was no mention of the Hellstar coming out in the Vanguards or the Proto Nemesis. So how do you guys feel about a new mega hull coming in the game? Nobody?
So tired of mega holes. So tired of mega holes. Just get rid of all of them.
Not happy at all. Not especially when it's going to have a really, really good submerged time, and then goes really, really deep. I think that's just, yeah, I think that's just going to be a one game killer to me. But there you go. It's Kickside for you.
I might have actually misheard because I thought I heard him say that it wasn't going to actually surface. It was basically going to stay under and then have a deep dive.
Right.
And during the deep dive, it was going to have a speed buff of 150%, as well as an alpha strike EMP buff or EMP, for anybody in the area. So
I thought it said that was going to activate when it surfaces eventually.
I don't think the crawler was ever going to surface. He said.
I think it comes out of that
Raikan.
deep. And when it comes out of that deep dive, you could kind of see it, but it doesn't actually surface.
Yeah, and obviously the point of the hull is to get it's another way to get around thermal. So base prepping, long submerged time, deep dive will allow you to get around people's thermal boats and get in and prep them out. It's
let's just hope there's not thousands of them given away. Just maybe like 30 of them out of all of us. You know what I mean? Just as long as there's not like 20,000 people running around with this. That's just my opinion. I if it's rare, keep it rare. Like 1 out of 20. So.
My guess is it'll be about as. Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
I know.
If just as long as there's not that many of them out there is the main thing. That's all I could say. You don't want to see everybody with the hull.
Just us on the panel.
It'll be like Telstars.
Yeah.
I think my main problem with all the mega hulls is it's just totally luck based. It doesn't matter how good you are at the game or how much time you put into it. It's just totally random luck, and that just annoys the piss out of me.
Yeah. What did y'all think of Nash's idea of limiting it to levels 40 and below? I got a kick out of that.
Yeah, that was kind of comical.
That was nice. And then when you hit level 41, you lose it.
That
would be awesome. That would be a great idea. Of course, you'd have to level up to 41 just to build the thing, probably. But anyway.
I did see, also it was mentioned that not this month, but next month in November, the Vanguards would be also paying out event points. So that was a really nice scoop for the November event.
Didn't they also say uranium too? There would be some uranium in those? Was it this time they're going to do that, possibly?
No, this time, I mean, all I heard for a consolation prize this time was the 1 hour ship build tokens.
Oh, okay.
I don't recall them mentioning uranium at all.
That sure would be nice to throw a little 5,000, 10,000 uranium in those,
Yeah, there was I don't know, there was kind of a hot spot in the show too on Thursday regarding Forsaken missions. DoomRooster mentioned 50. You know how right now you got to get 50 million points on your first run through in the Forsaken missions. He mentioned reducing the second run through to 50 million as well. And immediately I'm like, no, that's not good enough for me, but because I felt like it's just knocking off 15 million. But then he mentioned after that of resetting the clock as well. So you're getting a second 72 hours in addition to the, after when you did your reset. I mean, does everybody feel like that's more fair, or is
it's great.
Still needs more work?
I think it's awesome.
50 million for me is still a grind. Takes me most of the time on the clock just to do the one through.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I actually enjoy spending time with my family. I mean, I know, I spend a lot of time in the community as well, so you probably wouldn't really know that about me, but I actually do enjoy spending time with my family away from Battle Pirates, and I like, man, even doing it timer reset or not, I'd like to see the whole thing reduced, but.
Well, you got to do 1885s basically. Okay, so that's 6 a day. Okay, so I mean, if they were, let's just. But if you get 6 days, that's going to reduce it, 3 a day. Then you only have to do 3 a day to get it. So,
They should bring it down to 35, I think, for the first round, and maybe 40 for the second go.
Yeah, I agree. Like 30, 40, yeah, that'd be great. I'm thinking more of the lower guys, that are struggling, because you know what? In my sector, there's no 40s. There's nothing for them to open. There's hardly any 65s, and it's just like they're fighting for it. So it's just, I'm basically fighting for the little guy. I'd like them to get to get some stuff. That's all.
They could always make 65s spawn extra ones.
Isn't that how it works? Where the bases, how high the bases are, that's basically how they generate the 75, 85s, depending on how big the bases are around. Isn't that how those generate?
Yep.
Yes.
So
activity.
Toxic came up with a good idea a couple of weeks ago. Put them in the campaign list so you can hit any hub you want to.
Yeah. That would be great. No doubt.
Yep. Come in the tower, yeah.
As somebody who does the FM twice every week, I was happy to see a 15 million point reduction in the second half of it myself.
Amen.
I would like to see more, but I'm also not going to complain about what they do give me, because the more you complain sometimes, the more they're like, well, screw you, we'll take that back and you can do it the whole way again.
I hear that. Yeah, 50-50 is good.
Yeah, I think the words you're looking for, Price, is baby steps.
Yeah, I kind of bit my tongue a little bit because I started thinking about baby steps, and I'm like, I'm only committed to 3 months, man. It's like, how many baby steps are going to be made in 3 months, And that, for me, that was my big thing. It's like, I just kind of felt like the steps shouldn't be baby steps, but a bit more serious. But that's just me. Thankfully I didn't react to that right away. I talked to somebody first. Thank you, Dirty Harry. So I'm just going to wait and see what happens, see how big these baby steps really are. So we'll see what happens in 3 months in January when it's time to do that report card deal.
Hey, Price,
one baby step a month it wouldn't be enough. It just wouldn't be. There needs to be, like I said, a reduction straight away, a noticeable reduction that makes people happy, and then do the baby steps and the fine tuning. But they need to do something right now.
Yeah, I agree. Repair and build times, no doubt. Just
bypass
the baby steps for a couple months. Give us a couple steps. Get in there and just give us something right away, and then you can do some baby steps. That's what I think.
All right. I'd like to welcome Alona to the hangout here. So we did have a spot open, and she found it and grabbed it. And did you have any comments you wanted to make regarding any of the topics we covered so far before we move on?
Is my mic working?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, cool.
No.
First time using it, sorry. Not really. I've been kind of in and out, just moderating the chats, you should say. Kind of, like I said, been in and out, sorry.
All right. Well, awesome. So I guess any other opinions on here about the Forsaken mission at all, or a 50-50?
Yeah, Price, I'd like to say something.
Yes.
Generally, I think the idea of resetting the counter has been a thing for a while. I'm kind of glad that they're doing that. I'm glad for the point reduction. I just don't think the point reduction should involve maybe nerfing targets or nerfing the points on targets. That's always been a contentious issue. They should pretty much stick the way they are. They should pop more of the lower level spawns, maybe like off of an active base, pop the top level, the next level down, and the level after that would give more targets, varied targets for other lower people to hit. But I do think that the price reduction is a step in the right direction. I don't think that on the elite tier that it's enough, because I am struggling and have been struggling to bother to grind it out twice. I mean, it's just been a grind.
Well, it's kind of a huge commitment, really, the Forsaken mission, when you think about it, is because you can basically do 185 and knock out the first 3 tiers, and then to reach the very next one, you have to hit 7 more. So if you only manage to hit 3 or 4, I mean, before you get there and you don't actually hit elite. Me personally, my opinion was I would have liked to see them reduce the first tier by the first elite tier, but to about 30 million, and then maybe 35 million for the second. That was my idea, but I kind of feel like sometimes I might shoot my own self in the foot, is because I approach them with a compromise, and as opposed to what I really want, and it seems like they basically hit me back with another compromise. So I feel like I'm already going halfway, and they only come halfway to where I initially go in. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any professional I don't know, people out there does deals, man. If you got some advice for me, let me know, because I don't feel like I'm doing the community justice just yet.
No, I think that's a good idea. Really, the point reduction, 35 million. That sounds more reasonable to me. It doesn't seem like where I got to sit in front of a computer for a week trying to get to 2 times through this tier.
If anything, maybe they should just give us more extended time. Leave the points the same, but don't give us 72 hours to try to hit that twice. If we want to hit it twice, give us the full week.
Oh yeah, that was actually mentioned. Because they were talking about 50 million the first go round, 50 million the second go round, and plus they would reset the clock, so you'd get an additional 72 hours. So, but that's what we were talking about. I was kind of hoping, like I said, that they would go a little bit further as far as reducing the total point requirements. Just the 50 million points to me, I thought was a little high.
Oh, that's absurd.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be closer to like 30, 35 million. I will agree with that one all day long.
One thing I would like to mention too that hasn't gotten mentioned in my opinion enough was the bonus prizes that were added to the elite tiers this time. I think that was a great thing. Instead of like 4 days off ship builds the past 2 weeks, I've managed to get 8 days off ship builds for the past 2 weeks. So I think that was a great thing, and kudos to Dick for that.
Great job, man. 8 days is great.
Okay. Well, I guess if we've talked about the Forsaken missions enough, we could move on to. I know community outreach has been a big topic in the community. There's been a ton of community outreach as of late. I know they've reached out specifically about mercenary fleets. I think they're reaching out. They're actually trying to. What are other things? I mean, somebody on here help me out. I know they've been talking to us about. There was the base defense campaign was one. Yeah. And then I know the mercenary fleets was another big one, but I don't know. I'm curious what everybody on here thinks about mercenary fleets. What do you guys think they should do to fix mercenary fleets? I mean, do you think they should just go ahead and fix it and maybe add some researchable hulls to help update the mercenary fleets, or is there something else that you think they should be doing?
Get rid of it.
Scrap them.
Scrap it.
Yep, same. Kill it.
Scrap them.
Me personally.
Yeah, get rid of them.
They're worthless.
Yeah, they're
waste of time, waste of their time.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say. Based
Change
on
it to tokens.
Based on the information the community's throwing out with regard to what we would like to see in the game, wasting dev time on something like that is just not worth it. Much bigger fish to fry.
Change it to repair tokens.
Well, I mean, just think about what you'd be. I mean, me personally, I mean, I definitely respect everybody's opinion here. So hopefully it doesn't come off that I'm like trying to undermine that or counter that in any way. But me personally, I think the idea of more researchable hulls is a good thing, and the mercenary fleets is that's one thing that the mercenary fleets were good for. Whatever your latest researchable hull or your latest researched weapon generally tends to end up on your mercenary fleets. And granted, they're not great for a whole heck of a lot right now, but I mean, if they actually did come out with some newer researchable hulls, do you think, that would be a bad thing? I mean, I don't know. I just seemed to me that, if it would encourage them to come out with more researchable hulls for up-and-coming players, I think it would be potentially a good thing. But
I had seen somewhere on the forums with the idea of a toy box for mercenary fleets. Take the toy box idea and apply it to those, and with limitations or whatever, to where you might only have an hour to play with them, or you can't repair them, or you can't use them to hit a base or something like that.
Actually, kind of love that idea, but mercenary fleets are currently only good for 12 hours. They actually got a countdown clock when you launch one, and 12 hours they despawn. So there are limitations on that already. I mean, you can use them. You could just hit somebody's base with them, but I mean, quite honestly, they won't last very long. But something I've done on my couple of streams that Damnation here is liked is me and my wife have been kind of going at it and letting her kick my butt with her mercenary fleets, and I'm not letting her, but she's doing it anyway.
Yeah, it's free fun. As far as adding researchable hulls, I think adding researchable hulls is a great idea. I don't think from a prioritization standpoint, I don't think it would take priority over things like adjusting build times, adjusting repair times, and things like that. So while I agree with what you're saying, Price, I'm not so sure that's really going to add joy back into the game to do that for most players, at least not as much as the other things that have been discussed and talked about.
Damnation, you were trying to say something, weren't you?
I think with the mercenary fleets, I think having the random blueprint holes in a mercenary fleet might not be a bad idea, because people who don't have some of these blueprints for raid prizes and stuff could get an idea how they worked in the mercenary fleet, and it would make the mercenary fleet a little bit more powerful. But before they do anything with mercenary fleets, they need to fix them so you can actually launch them when you haven't used one.
Yeah. Let me see. Phantom Menace, I think it looked like you might have been getting ready to say something too. Did you have anything to add?
No, I just muted, so I didn't get any feedback.
Oh, okay, my bad. All right. Well, if there's no... What's that?
One thing too, Price?
Sure, go for it.
Generally, I think the mercenary fleets, they're basically throw them at a target, knock a little bit of damage down. I mean, they're not a bad idea. They do need some updating. They do need some love. As far as the bugs and stuff associated with them, they need to work on those first. Those should be the priority, and then see where it goes from there. But as far as wasting developer time, I agree with everybody else that it should be a backplate thing. Just maybe take some of these long-term bugs that have been around in the game forever, like mystery launching fleets, and fix those instead of basically, I don't know, spinning our wheels on this. It's just kind of like a distraction, it seems like.
All right. Well, I think I know mercenary fleets is something that I've kind of said something. I've been using that as an example for a long time because it's like the oldest bug in the game. It's been around for nearly as long as the game, 4 years. And I think any new players that come in to the game, that's like one of the first things they see. And it just seems to me that if you have a front-end bug like that, you're pretty much just saying to anybody that's new to the game, saying this is what you can expect in the future. So I think it's kind of like a managing expectations type deal, almost. Maybe that's why they've left it in there all of this time. So I don't know. That's what it seems like to me. But I guess if there's nobody else has got anything else to say, maybe we can move on to the base defense campaign. We can talk about that. One thing I will point out that GD Raikan was very expressive about, said that he was very appreciative of the very mature feedback coming back from the community. There wasn't a whole lot of trolling. There was actually good, helpful input. So I definitely want to say, community, I mean, it seemed like for a minute that they kind of learned how to give good positive feedback. And he did go on to the rule set for the bubble currently. I guess because they were talking about no bubble, no bubble on your base from doing this campaign, even though it was real damage. And they actually went the rule sets. It sounded to me like he was trying to say that basically to get a bubble, you need to complete a campaign set. That sounded to me very fair. And anybody can jump in at any time. I'm just going to keep going if nobody says anything. And you can. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
What he said was that you could get a bubble from being attacked. Now, and then he also said that if you don't want to coin repair it, that you can do the whole set of the event before without repairing by coin, and you can do the whole thing at least once through. Now, what about the base defense fleet that you've got in there? If you've got a decent base defense fleet in there, they're not going to repair in 6 hours. So that something needs to be done there.
Well, that's something that you might want to remember, though, is that you're actually going to be online for this. So if you actually want to put like a fleet versus fleet in there, like whether it be instant repair Seawolves, you can do that because you're going to be driving. You're going to have the capacity to drive. Nobody's going to write you and call you any kind of names, for driving against these fleets. You don't have to worry about that. So, I mean, it's just something to consider.
Yeah, that's all fair enough. But the repair times for fleets, should they get sunk or whatnot, are they going to control that as well, so that it's within a free repair within the raid?
Yeah, but also he did say that these fleets are designed not to flatten you, just to come in and do X amount of damage. They're not designed to just come in and wipe you completely out.
Yeah, I mean, the word softball was mentioned, so it may end up being a bit of a softball campaign, but, I don't know. It's just one of those things. I know there's going to be different types of attacks. There are going to be slow attacks that are going to go building to building, and there's also going to be blitz attacks. So you're going to have two different kinds of attacks to deal with. And they did mention that the base repair cost was going to be being reduced dramatically, and it was mentioned, currently it's in excess of 300 gold, and it's going to be reduced all the way down to 50 or less. So that's right around. I mean, I didn't do the exact math, but it sounds to me like it's close to about 80% reduction in repair times for your structures. So, I mean, that's a positive that's going to be coming out of this as well.
I can't wait for these things to come. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Didn't we have something about Drac bases at one time where we had to wait? For God knows how long. So, I just can't wait for the Dracs to hit. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for us.
Yeah, I'm excited as well.
I don't think it's, the way it makes it sound, you might get damaged a little bit, but I think we're going to be able to pretty much pound these fleets. Maybe the number 7 that he was talking about is going to be pretty significant. But I can't wait. I think this is going to be a lot of fun, man. So, bring the fun back into the game. That's what I want. So, so that's all I got to say.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yep, same here. That'll be. I can't wait either. I couldn't wait for the Scourge either, and that was a bit of a flop. But I hope that they're gonna sort of do better in this. But yeah, bring it on. I would love to see base attacks.
Have they talked about what the prize is going to be for that campaign?
I don't think so. I take that back. Well, I remember there was mention of a ballista turret, but now that I'm thinking about it, that might have been for second mission prize. So I don't really know. I think there may be some kind of actually, I think it was. It's because it actually the ballista, as I understand, isn't that a limited turret, and you can win it 5 times?
I don't know about 5 times. I only got 1.
Well, that's the Deadeye ballista, but I'm talking about a regular ballista turret. There was a regular ballista turret that's supposed to be coming out, and I thought that was supposed to be like the main prize for this, and you could win up to 5.
It's the Draconian coaxial turret.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
That's right. It was a coaxial turret. You're right. Thank you.
Yeah. Shout out to Mickey Rogers in the chat, or in the YouTube chat for calling that one.
Yep, and Jesse Young too as well.
No, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, man. I can't wait for it to come out. So, it's again, I think just with the armadas, and there are steps in my eyes that I see already that are happening slowly, and if they can just keep this going, maybe a couple big steps in between the baby steps, I think it's going to be great. So they just got to keep it up.
Yeah, sorry, Bryce. I don't think the Armada's going to stay as easy as they are at the moment. I think they'll turn the difficulty up a little bit. They are a little bit too easy, I think, from what I've seen.
What does everybody think? I mean, does a complete set for a complete set campaign, does that sound like a reasonable way to receive a bubble? Does it sound fair?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
You know, you got to earn it. You know, I mean, you got to figure that's.
What if we get attacked in the middle of that?
You can't.
You can't. He said you can't get attacked while that's going on, right?
Yeah, your base will be
red.
Yeah, your base will be red. People can spectate, but your base will be red as you're going through the campaign.
Cool.
My question would be, I don't think it'll happen for a lot of people, but what happens if you like fail in the campaign before you complete the set? What happens then?
You got to start over.
No, but I'm saying as far as a bubble, will you get a bubble because you didn't complete the set?
No, you don't. They didn't. If I'm not mistaken, he said that you have to complete it, otherwise you won't get the bubble.
So you're gonna have a dead base with no bubble.
No, I think he said if you retreat out of it or you stop the campaign, you don't get a bubble. I think if it beats you, you do get a bubble.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you for that. I do believe that was accurate.
No doubt. Thank you.
I thought they'd said something about that if they did so much percentage damage, just like a regular attack, that you would get a bubble for like whatever the standard one is. I think like 12 hours or whatever. That if they did like 25% damage and you aborted it, that it would still give you a bubble like regular.
Yeah, that's what I remember too. Yeah.
All right. Well, the last thing that I had on my list, I wasn't sure we were going to get to it or not, was the mention of a skin store, and I guess I'd be personally, I'm thinking it's about time. It's something that I've kind of felt like they should have done right from the get-go when they started doing skins. I thought these buy now, type deals. I think high-pressure sales tactics inside of a video game for skins that don't actually do anything for your boat, I think we're a little nuts. I mean, it's nice to be able to express your patriotism, that kind of thing, but I think the skin store, something that's available 24/7, 365, is definitely the way to go when it comes to stuff like this. I mean, anybody else, got anything to add to that? I mean, anybody disagree?
As long as they're reasonably priced and cheap.
Well, you can have a skin store, and as well as you can have a conversion where you buy your coins, and you get one skin added on if you buy $10 worth of coins. You get 2 skins if you buy 50, or 3 skins if you buy 100, or something like that.
Oh, I like that. You buy you can get like a skin token with your gold purchase or something like that to use in the skin store. That's a great idea.
Right,
I love that.
As well as having the skins by themselves, So you got a choice. If you want coins, you get a skin with it. If you don't just want the skin, that's fine too.
Yeah, I like that comment too.
I think another thing is the skins. You should be able to, if you buy a skin, it should just automatically go on that haul. You shouldn't have to wait to do a refit of them.
Oh yeah, I got you. So you shouldn't have to wait till the shipyard's ready.
Right, because
Yeah.
I mean, really, once your shipyard ready. So you have some people that do the full 30-day builds, and they don't get to put their skin that they just purchased on unless they want to cancel that build, or they have to wait the 30 days.
I'm personally not in a rush to put a skin on a ship that doesn't do anything, so what's the rush?
But didn't he say that they're trying to implement a pause in the
Yeah, like some kind of like a save progress. Yeah, there's supposed to be like a save progress, so you can switch gears, just jump to another ship to do a quick refit if you want. That's something that I mean, it's been mentioned to them via wish list, that they really seem to be intrigued by that particular concept, and they seem like they like it. So hopefully it's something that we can see down the road. Lord knows we're not getting a dry dock. I don't know what the problem is with that, but
well, if they can pause it like that, why can't we do a dry dock?
Well, if you could do a dry dock, then there wouldn't be any point to have a pause feature in the shipyard. So
exactly.
I personally do not want to be the first person who tries the pause feature, though. I'll put that out there.
We'll leave that on to Harry.
Yeah. I get to be the guinea pig.
One thing I wanted to ask: when are these this raid coming out with them when they're attacking our base? Do you have an exact date on that, Price?
The 20th.
The 20th. Okay.
Yep.
Unless it gets delayed again.
As long as they get it right, I delay it all you want, man. As long as it comes out right, that's all I want. I don't want 6 fixes on it before it's good to go. So.
All right. Well, guys, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick open mic. We actually are at an hour already, but I'm going to do an open mic just in case there was something on here that one of the panelists on here wanted to discuss and we just didn't get to. I know we kind of got sidetracked a little bit with tokens and build times earlier, which is good, is because this show is for you guys, so I didn't mind that a bit. But is there anything else that folks on here would like to discuss before we call it?
One thing I would like to discuss, like when they do their special offers, and like it seems like they cater them to how much people spend, where you can buy this token package for this much money or this token package for this much money. I would really like to see them make all the packages available to everybody, no matter how much they spend on a regular basis. Stop trying to dictate to me how much I'm going to spend and give me the option if I want to spend more and get a bigger package or less and get a smaller package on any given special offer.
I like that too. That's a great comment. All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, just something I alluded to last night. When you guys are doing a co-op, that they should add a follow button so you can follow the lead player or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's all right. You mentioned that on the show. Yeah, it was kind of fun watching Dirty Harry follow me around with his Aegis and Countermeasure Triton, and he was drunk, so he follow button might have really helped him out a little bit last night.
Just
but anyway,
little drunk driving.
Drunk now.
All right. Anybody else? Was it Phantom Menace? Were you getting ready to say something, or was that Battlestar?
Not
Wasn't me.
Okay, so neither one of y'all got anything. All right, folks. Well, if that's it, we're going to go ahead and call it. I do appreciate everybody for coming on and having your say. I think it was a great show, and I look forward to seeing the comments on this particular one. I think it was a great show. So anyway, everybody say bye.
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 Thanks almost everybody on the chat. We actually had some people that weren't quite as with it. They didn't feel like attending to the community that much. But we had a lot of really good members in the chat as well. So thank you for that. And y'all have a good evening.
Take care,
Bye.
Bye.